Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Moore Jr., and I am now the current and newly hired general manager of the UAB football program, the University of Birmingham in Birmingham, Alabama. I know y'all have a lot of questions for me, so I just want to dive right into it and let y'all know my future plans to help this current football program get back to the elite level that they once known as, and get some wins on the board. First, I would like to start out with um, just a whole reorganization. So that's from staff, head coaches, things of that nature. First of all, um, I know we've come up short in the past, and other programs such as track and field, basketball, they're starting to exceed expectations. Win conference championships and all of those things that help the program bring in money. And it's time for us, this football program to start putting some weight. So one of the main parts that will help us, succeed in this program is starting off with a head coach. So a head coach, he would be selected, based off experience. How many championships he's won in, middle school, high school, on the community college level, things of that nature. Because I personally feel like, although it starts, upstairs, like in those higher markets, I feel like it also starts with the head coach as well. Coordinators for defense and offense. That's basically, those are basically, assistant coaches, in my opinion. Um, we have to have an efficient offense, putting up 25 to 40 points per game. And the defense needs to be elite. Defense needs to be elite. Um, I know that a big part of getting players to come play for this prestigious program, it starts with of course the coaches, but it starts how the facility looks. You get a bunch of guys who 18, 19, 20 years old. They want to make sure they're taken care of, and one thing that they first look at is see how the locker room is, how the dressing room is, how the practice facility is. So I feel like you know updating our practice facilities, making sure our field is, presentable to the not only to the fans and the crowd, but to our respected football players, because they're the ones that's going out there every week, every Saturday, busting their tails off, and I feel like they deserve the best. Uniforms and gears, that also plays a part in helping the program succeed. So getting new colorways, getting different colorways, getting different perspectives, asking, someone who is like around that age for the players who's playing. So, how would this look? How would that look? And that also goes in with, the promotional strategies to, produce at a high level. Financial income, that plays a part. So to do such those things, ticket sales, they will be increased. Sponsorships, we will get more sponsorships, like Nike, Jordan, Sprite, Adidas, Nothing Bundt Cakes, those type of things. We will increase merchandising, sell, bobbleheads, tiles, things of that nature. And one of the main one of the most important things is also a relationship with the media. A relationship with the media can go a long way. It can media is tricky. It can twist our young players' words around, and they can make players that's coming from high school or coming from other institutions not want to play for UAB, and that's understandable because you don't want any negative light. So we would do a lot of things, do press releases, media days, just for people get to know the players, and the players get to know people, fans, and such of those things. Um, But yeah, that's like a little to a lot of what I want to prepare for this upcoming year. One more thing is the technology. So we will have different type of specialists. You know, provide content for how not to get injured, and if you do get injured, what's the best recovery ways? Injury prevention. Things of that nature. Teaching classes about that. And I know the media has some questions, so and one question is, do you believe the organization, university, franchise fairly dismissed your procedure? In my opinion, I believe so because I believe everything is about opportunity, and if you have 4 to 5 years of great opportunities, that's you should accomplish something and not you know end up in a losing situation, losing not only games but losing fans' interest, losing money, losing revenue. So I feel like it was treated fairly, for the dismissal. My strongest, our strongest competition in our conference, I would use to say Memphis. Memphis that's in the AAC. Memphis, they just had an incredible year, and we tend to go back and forth. So I believe that's our strongest competitor. And what's my first step? My first step is actually getting all the players together. Doing a little bonding activity, going to retreat. Not only the players, but coaching staff. Coaching staff, players, training staff. Just going to retreat, get to know one another, because it's typically more than 100 people. So, and you typically not gonna know everybody, but I would like to make that opportunity and get that chance to sit down, get to talk to everybody, get to know their goals. But after that, we hit the ground running. Start practice in the spring. Do tour days, things of that nature. But if that's all that you have for me, thank you. I appreciate you for your time. And I look to see you in the fall.